The man. Welcome back, everybody. And it's the Portland Masters 2014. We have two matches this morning. We have Blaine Winninger versus Jason Trees, Chris Mongelli, and Corey Husted on the right pair of lanes. This is Chris Mongelli's first shot. These are 3-game matches. First place is $3,000 and a trip to the USBC Masters. And Trees goes dead flush to start the match. Great shot by Jason. Corey throwing a ball with a lot more surface this morning on the fresh. You're not seeing guys play 6th, 7th arrow early. You might see that late, though. And a PBA washout for Blaine. Looks like Corey's got him figured out again. Playing a different line than yesterday, different surface. Might be cutting a trough for himself later. With today's format, however, most of the pairs are going to be fresh, so they probably won't have to get near as deep as yesterday. Mongelli runs Brooklyn. Blaine recovers. I'd like to mention some of our sponsors this morning. Be Young RV and Reese's Fine Foods, as well as Kellogg and Milwaukee Bowl, Western Beverage Company, Pietro's Pizza, Complete Bowling Service. And Jason comes up a little light, leaves a 2, 4, 8, 10. It's a makeable spare. Ten pin. Early on, Blaine has a 10-pin deficit to Jason. Chris Mongelli going to try to come up and cover this 10-pin. Wall shot for Jason. Corey now to open with the turkey. Playing a much more direct line than yesterday, up the track area of the lane. And Blaine leads back-to-back washouts on lane 16. Great shot by Corey. Corey's on a mission today. Blaine coolly covers the washout. Chris Mongelli trying to recover now from missing that 10 pin. And a great shot by Chris. And Blaine leaves a 4 pin on the far left lane. Leaves a 3-6 spare. And Chris covers the spare easily. Now Corey is up to try to distance himself early. And Jason trips out the 4-9 over on 16. We're seeing guys throw ball with surfaces because there's more oil in the front of the lane. And Corey rolls the 2 pin forward. And that's a real common hit here at Kellogg Bowl. We see a lot of those roll forward. Looks like Jason left a 6-10 after his double. He's got about a 19 pin lean on Blaine. And Corey's going up here for a 6-pack. And he goes dead flush. I would say that's a pretty strong start for Corey, front 6. And Jason chops the 7 pin off the 6. And ball chains for Chris. I'm not sure what he threw there. It looked like maybe a Storm IQ Tour ball. Maybe something that doesn't face up quite as quickly. And Blaine trips a 4-pin. Down by 7 pins currently. Chris Mongelli averaged 193 for his 12 game of match play, 4 matches. And he goes Greek Church. Pretty good to have a 193 average and go 3-1 these days. Some of the pairs are lower scoring, and you can get by matches sometimes with a 190 average, depending on what pair you're on. And Mongelli won his first 2 matches, and then he lost to Eric Jensen, had a little trouble on that pair, and then he won by 8 last night in the losers bracket to get to his 3-1 record. And Jason went through the face, avoids a split. Looks like Blaine doubled, and Blaine's got a 3-pin advantage in that match. And here's Corey to go for his front 7. And that was a little inside of target. He almost tripped a 4-7 out, leaving just a 7-pin, but has opened up an enormous lead. Corey with a 76-pin lead already in the 7th frame. Jason leaves a 10-pin. And there's a little give and take. Sometimes you can leave more flat 10s with these balls that have surface on them. Corey gets a nice wall shot. And Jason covers the 10-pin. Chris with the double wood. And Blaine, nice light hit there for a turkey. At this point, Blaine has 83 in the 5th with a turkey. Jason, 129 in the 7th with a spare up. Blaine potential 233, Jason potential 209 if they sheet. Ooh, and Chris whiffs the 2-8. Looks like it's going to possibly be an early relaxation period for Corey, as he could be up by 100 pins possibly in this match after 1 game, the way things are going. And Blaine leaves a bucket. These lanes keep you honest, and with the guys throwing equipment with lots of surface, we're going to see the mid part of the lane. In certain areas, there'll be extra hold that they won't expect, or could start seeing them leaving a few more buckets and washouts today than yesterday. Chris goes through the face, leaving a 10 pin. And he covered that 10 pin. He missed one early in the match, but that was more solid there. Firm ball speed. Corey with the baby split. And because Corey went to the loser's bracket a little bit earlier than Chris, Corey has had to bowl 5 matches at this point. Corey is 4-1 in match play. I just ran some numbers, and Corey's 372 over for his 15 games so far. So he's averaging roughly around 223, while Chris is actually averaging 193. So, it's tough to come against a bowler like that who's averaging 220 plus on this demanding lane condition. And currently we're seeing Corey cover the double wood. That puts him up by 88 pins in the 9th frame. And he avoids a split there. 10th frame. Possible 247 for Corey. Meanwhile, over on lane 16, we're seeing a lot of out of bounds on the right side. We've seen a couple washouts from Blaine. Jason just left a 210 split. So both him and Blaine are experiencing squirrely conditions early on that pair. And Corey actually had one of definitely the highest scores that lost in the winner's bracket. Corey easily handled Tim Myers, 615 to 530 his opening match, and then shoots a 695 round 2, only to lose to Ed Bliquet's 708. So that was a bad draw for Corey. He didn't let it bother him, though. He shoots 246. And Jason got the first one in the 10th. He's going for a double here. Oof. Early check. So he has a possible 176 if he covers that. 3, 6, 9, 10. And Chris with another ball change. Lane 18. Corey's looking pretty good. Everybody's using gold. Fresh. But now they got out of bounds because there's oil outside, so there's a lot more washouts. Yesterday we all faced it. We've seen a bunch of like PJ washouts. So if Chris gets a strike here, he'll shoot 160. He'll have an 86 pin hill to climb the next 2 games to catch Corey. That's going to be real difficult. Corey doesn't like to give sticks away. And Blaine comes up a little bit light, 10th frame. So actually, him and Jason are having a match that's about a mark or so differential. Blaine has a possible 187. Jason shot 175. Better shot by Chris there. Blaine's probably going to experiment a little bit on this shot and see maybe if he can create a different line. Nice shot. Trips the 4-9. And Corey with the ball change on the left lane. They're kind of chasing the oil right now and making those micro management moves that you need to do on this pattern from time to time. And it looks like Jason made an equipment change, threw a great shot to start that match. Jason has worked in PBA pro shops, and he understands proper drilling layouts. And he did very well last year in this tournament, too. He almost made the show. And we see Chris continuing to fight the out of bounds. Lane 18, he went out, left it at 1-2-4. Blaine makes a little adjustment on 16 for the light hit and comes up high. 4-7 though, no split. Better shot there on 17. Blaine rings one flush there. He's opening with a spare and a strike this match. And Corey avoids a pocket 7-10, just leaving a wobbly 7-pin. And Jason leaves the nearly impossible 2-8-10. That lane 16. Both players are dealing with an out of bounds that is pretty bad right now, and it makes you afraid to hit the outside part of the lane. And a lot of the times, the result is a face hit. But, Jason trusted it right there, and we see another 2-8-10 by Corey now. We're starting to see a little wet dry develop as these bowling balls are moving the oil around. It's kind of a thin coat but long, so there's some changes. Keep the player honest. Jason runs up high and just leaves a 2-pin. Chris moves in. And that's the dilemma they're facing right now, the players, is that they move in. The ball likes to chain up early. They move out into the track, and they hit the OB, and they don't even hit the head pin. So now Blaine just got a great break. He tripped out basically the 4-6-10 right there. Little messenger on the 6-10. Gotta love that. And, things like that are really huge in a match. Like Blaine had a strike going into that shot. So it's like a free 20 pins when that happens. So Blaine is up now. Possibility of a spare and a turkey to start off this match. If he's able to do that. And he leaves a stone 7-pin. Horrible break. But he currently has a 33-pin lead in this 3-game match. Chris and Corey are tied at 46 in the third frame. Corey, however, has an 86-pin lead from game 1. Better shot by Jason on that lane. Looked like he might have moved in off that track area, which hasn't been hooking so hot when you miss right. And it appears that the great line Corey had the first game had just evaporated before his eyes. He's made a ball change, and all of a sudden, he's getting the same over-under as the other players. What I expect to happen later is players will score high on certain pairs, and then other pairs will remain tight. And a great double comeback there by Jason. Great balance at the foul line. And Corey gets a good break picking up that 3-6-10. That could have been easily a chop. Flying messenger on the 10 pin for Corey. Blaine with a swishing 7 pin. Decent shot. Chris rolls the 2 forward. And maybe that'll get him going. Had a tough first match against Corey. Sometimes a little break like that will get you a little bit of confidence. And doesn't roll the 2 forward on that one. And I did an average comparison earlier with Chris and Corey and talked about the 30 pin differential. On the other match, the averages are much closer. We have Blaine averaging 218 for his 15 games of match play. Blaine lost by 1 pin in the second round yesterday to Eric Jensen, 662 to 661, and he has a 4-1 record. Jason Trees, on the other hand, lost the very first round to Mike Karch and came back and won 4 matches. So they're both 4-1. Jason's averaging 218. Blaine's averaging 210. So this should be a pretty good match.
This is Ryan.
Hey, man. Hey, nice to meet you, man.
Rocky's boy. West Virginia. He's my roommate. He's here for spring break. Great. Well, it's pretty cool. This weather sucks. I enjoyed it.
Bill Oatkin came over and introduced me to some of his extended family. The Oatkin family is a very tightly knit family here. They have a lot of history, just like the Husted family, several generations in the South Metro. Kellogg Bowl was built in 1962, and Milwaukee Bowl was built 5 years earlier in 1957. 2 of the few remaining wood bowling centers. A good resurfacing schedule from year to year. The Oatkins and the Husteds have maintained the lane beds, whereas most other centers have gone synthetic. And a great shot by Chris right there. It looks like he might like lane 18 a little better than 17 at this point. Last 2 shots on there have been pretty good. Him and Corey are tied in this match. Meanwhile, Jason, huge comeback, going for a 5-bagger right now in lane 16. Beautiful shot, and it's going to be a great story if Jason can make the show, losing the very first round of the tournament and possibly storming back to make it all the way. I believe he would have to go 6-1 in match play to do that. So right now he's 4-1. Oh, and Chris really tugged that one, got away from him. Looks like he made a lost balance a little bit, leaving a double wood on the right side of the lane. 3-9, still left-handed leave. And Jason, his string ends at 5. He leaves a 3-6. Makeable spare, though. Jason has a possible 236 this match, and so does Blaine. And he chops the 3 off the 6. 194 through 9. And Chris missed that spare. And Blaine very fortunate just to leave a 4-pin right there on lane 16. Corey gets a ripping wall shot. Corey for a turkey, and he's a solid 10-pin. It was a good pitch. And Blaine, looks like he moved in a little bit. He peered that one. First shot in the 10th. And Blaine's only going to be able to squeeze a 206 out of this match, but you know, that was a real well bowled game. He stayed clean, and that's all you can ask on this pattern. Cover your spares, and Chris is in trouble on lane 18. That seemed to be his good lane the last couple shots, but he aired that one out, and he's in the same dilemma as some of the other players, deciding whether to try to play a little deeper or gamble and play the track area. Looks like Blaine left a 610 from my vantage point. Finishes with a 206. So now if Jason gets up and he can double here, he can take the lead in this match with Blaine. And Chris goes Brooklyn, leaves a 3-pin. And Jason can shoot 214 here, which would give him 8 sticks back from his deficit. So it's anybody's game. And Chris finishes with a 161. That's not going to get it done against Corey Husted. Jason finishes with a 214. To Blaine's 206. Jason is trailing by 4 sticks. Corey comes up high in the 10th. He's going to shoot right around 190 after his strong start game of 246. Good shot by Blaine. Looks like he might have made a ball change. Jason throws a great shot to start game 3. Jason and Blaine both hail from Happy Valley, Oregon. And Corey comes up a little thin and fills 19 in the 10th for 192. And that will give him a 117 pin lead after 2 games. And Jason comes up a little high, leaves a 4-pin, second frame. And the scout misses the 10 for Mongelli. Open up game 3. Blaine. Looks like he's playing around third arrow. I can't quite tell from my vantage point. Corey leaves a half 10 there. Good shot. And Blaine's trying to open up with a turkey here to start off game 3. And he goes to the face. Looks like he just left the double wood though, the 3-9. And Corey flags a 10-pin. Probably not going to hurt him at this point with his huge cushion that he's built up the first 2 games. Chris is having a little trouble. And upcoming in our winners bracket at noon, we're going to have another losers bracket after this round, but it's going to be the 2 leftover undefeated players, Kurt Bogner versus Dean Richards. Corey strikes in a second. And the winner of that match will be the top seed for the final matches. Jason up on 16 now. Great shot, and he capitalizes on Blaine chopping the doublewood spare. And at this point, Jason and Blaine are tied through 23 frames. And Chris leaves a 7-10, went high, so you know what? He's good-mannered about it. He's always got a smile on his face. And I'm sure he's happy with his performance. And Jason goes high, but just leaves a 6-pin. Just goes for count on that 7-10. Tried to bounce it out. So Jason's got strike, spare, strike, spare. Blaine's got a double and an open. So knotted at 24 frames. Blaine throws a half pocket hit that swishes the rack. I just posted the update on Northwest Bowlers Facebook page. Losers bracket standings after 2 games. A reminder here that if you click on the Ustream logo below the video feed, you can go to the archived matches from yesterday and watch them. And Blaine throws a great shot there. Doubles up on Jason. Lets him know that it's going to be a dogfight to the end of this match. Great shot by Corey. Looking at the matchup at noon, Dean Richards is averaging nearly 221 for his matches at 4-0. Kurt Bogner is averaging 212. And Corey has a higher average than all of them. Corey also has the unfortunate event of a 695 loss yesterday in the second round, which, realistically, that's a pretty high percentage chance of winning at 695 on this oil pattern. But, he was bowling a previous champion, Ed Blaquet, and Ed made great shots. And Jason comes back with a double. Exciting match between Jason and Blaine. Right now, if Blaine strikes, he'll have a 10-pin lead. Better shot by Chris there. Blaine snaps out the 10. So now Blaine has a double, a missed double wood, and then a turkey. Jason 80 through 4 frames and a double up. So it looks like they found something. Chris continues to struggle, leaving a 2-pin. And Corey is averaging 224.8 for his 15 games of bowling up until this match. So I haven't calculated the averages of all the players, but I would say that him and Dean Richards are definitely two of the highest averages that we've seen this weekend. Blaine comes up a little thin. His string ends at 3. He left a 4-7. Corey comes up light, leaving a 2-10 split, but he's on a turkey. And really mentally, this match for Corey, it might not seem like it, but it's huge. He's able to just maybe take a game and a half off and relax and treat it as practice. He had this match wrapped up early, and he didn't have to throw his whole mental game into this match for the duration. And he may be very fresh for that next match, which may not be so easy. Jason up now to throw a turkey and take a lead on Blaine. And he leaves. He trips the 4, wobbles the 9. And right now, Corey leads a split. Blaine, Jason. Blaine has a 9-pin advantage. 7th frame for the 3-game match. And Jason with a light mixer on 15. Chris continuing to struggle, leaves a 3, 6, 7. He's just going through the motions at this point. So Chris is going to end up with a 3-2 match play record. Should be good for a pretty good check. And he takes the 6-7 out of that spare. Blaine with a key shot coming right now in the 8th frame, taking a re-rack on lane 16. You know, he may have not felt the rack was the problem. A lot of the time, 50% of the time, a player, if they have extra re-racks at the end of the game, they will take a re-rack to mentally regroup for, say, a 9th or a 10th frame shot, a key shot in a match. And right now, as tight as that match is, he really wants this to be a good shot. Perfect. And right now, Blaine can shoot a 244 if he goes off the sheet. Jason can shoot 239. Chris carries a light hit. So coming up again will be one more loser's bracket round. We have not yet determined who we're going to choose. We'll determine that at the break. I'll announce it. And then after that will be our noon squad. Blaine throws a key double right there, which will be our 2 undefeated players, Dean Richards, Kurt Bogner. And Corey went back to the ball he started with, and that's the ball that he had the 6-7 bagger with to start earlier. I think he had front 6. And ball rolls up pretty strong. He didn't really have that great of a look the second game, so he's like, well, why don't I go back to this ball since this match is over and see if that line somehow came back. It looked real similar to what he had the first match there. And a real important shot for Jason Trees. And he was a solid 4-pin. He could have easily tripped that out. And now Jason's back's against the wall with Blaine. Basically, if Jason spares here, and then he strikes out, Blaine needs a mark to shut out Jason, regardless of what Jason does. In the 10th frame, Jason striking out at his... If Jason doesn't double in the 10th, Blaine just needs good count. Jason taking his time. He struck the last 2 times on this left lane and seems to be pretty dialed in. Great shot. And Jason for the double. He pitched it wide, 3 off the right. And that is disaster, my friends. That's not what he wanted. And maybe got a little bit quick with his feet. And he's got a very tall order on his hands. He's bowling back-to-back defending champion, Blaine Weninger. And that in itself is a lot of pressure. Jason covers it nicely for a 209 game. And Jason finishes with a respectable 598 series. Blaine just needs good count. And he's on to the next match. Blaine strikes. Possible 244. And Corey's looking really good again with the ball he originally started with. The ball with lots of surface on it. He's able to play the track area just inside of it. Looks like Blaine's going to finish with a 233 to Jason's 209. And so that would put Blaine at a 626 series. Good enough for the win. We see a lot of scores getting by, 620, 630, just staying clean, catching a double a game. And, you know, Blaine's very good at that when the lanes are tough, just shooting 10 clean frames, filling frames, shooting 2-0, 2-10. You know, hit a couple good stretches and shoot a couple 230s. It's very difficult on this lane condition. And Steve Husted just came over and told me that Champ Husted is enjoying the sun in Arizona, listening to this telecast. And hey, that means a lot to me to have the legendary Champ Husted listening from 1,000+ miles away. And Corey finishes with a 221 game. Strong performance. And Chris tries to bounce out that spare. So Corey finishes with a 659 series. And Chris Mongelli with a 460. So on to our next match. In about 15 minutes, we will come back on live. And at that time, we're going to determine who we cover. So I'll see you all in a little bit.